Hey, there we are. Hi. Okay. Hello. Hi. We don't have a lot of time today. It's a special stream because I missed the last one. I'm gonna try to do these more regularly. It's not gonna be like a one a day kind of thing. It might be like several times a week. That's not important. The point is, the last time I spent the night before with a terrible stomach bug, basically on the toilet the entire time. We don't need to talk about that. You guys know what it's like. We have anuses. I have anuses. We all have anuses. We know what it's like. So, moving on to the news, to the big stuff, the good stuff. So, wow, there's a lot going on. That's kind of the reason why I had to come back. It's kind of the reason why I had to do a special thing on Monday. I don't know who's going to be here because I do things on Friday, but it's President's Day. It's a holiday, so maybe you're here. Anyways, today we're going to take a look at two things, not my usual three things. We're going to try to keep this short because I don't have a lot of time. But I wanted to talk about some things. I want to talk about what's going on. Specifically, America's infrastructure and Biden in Ukraine. I'm going to wait for the Ukraine bit for a little bit. I want to see if I get a certain someone in here. But for now, hey, it's good to see you guys. Before I get into all that, recently a game came out, Hogwarts Legacy. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. It's based around the popular series. Oh, thanks. I'll check that out. It's based around the popular series Harry Potter, which super popular, super whatever. The author of which though is not so popular, especially recently after it came out that she's, you know, very transphobic. That being said, I think it's possible to separate the art from the artist. But if you don't enjoy giving money to someone, your wallet speaks. You know, your wallet is a voice. So if you don't enjoy what that person is doing, don't buy the game. Well, you can watch people play it, sure, fine, but don't buy the game. Don't give it popularity. I still love Harry Potter. Think it's a great series. Love the series. Am I a fan of everything J.K. Rowling says? No. Am I a fan of the New York Times after the article they put out, basically saying that she's not as transphobic as she should be, but, you know, here we are? No. No. Because, again, they basically, the quotes they used were so particular and so picked out to make it seem like, see, she believes trans people are people too. No, she doesn't. She immediately, like, literally, like, I think the quotes that they used in that article basically said something like, um, she thinks that everyone is entitled to their own opinion and that they should be able to do what they want with their bodies and with their privacy and blah, 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 blah. And then literally, if you actually look at where the quote comes from, you can see that just a few sentences after that, she says, but I don't want them in my bathrooms. I don't want them in my house. I don't want them in my country, essentially. Like, she's basically like, get them out. I don't want them here. So, again, if you like Hogwarts, if you like Harry Potter, go for it. If you don't want to give money to a known transphobe, then stay away from the IP, stay away from the property. Okay? Because even if she's not the one that made it, even if she's not really involved, she's going to get money because it's her intellectual property. It's going to be a licensing thing. So she will get money from all this, anyways. All right, sorry, hold on. So, what's this? You sent me this thing about East Palestine. All right, yeah, let's jump into it. I don't have a lot of time, so let's do this. Let's see. Newly released video. Yeah, I heard about this. The brakes were failing for like days. I mean, not days, obviously, but here, hold on. Let's take a look at this. Rip my PC. Oh no. Right. So I had this pulled up before. Can you guys see this? I was showing the wrong thing. Oh boy. All right, hold on. I can fix this. Oh. Gotcha. Pause that. Pull this up. Flip over to here. Flip over to here. Pause. Huh. I can look, look. I have two windows open. That's what it is. Shook. And now, haha, gotcha. So where was that? Where was that tweet that I got? I'll just copy and paste it. It's super easy. But all right, I do want to check this out. So what's this? Roz alerts? Are Oz alerts? Let's see. So like I said, don't have a lot of time today. Just kind of keep it quick, but let's see what this is.
Raising a lot of questions, especially for people in
Ooh! Is that the fire coming
East
out of the
Palestine,
tracks?
Ohio. As you can see, sparks and flames underneath this Norfolk Southern train, and this was 20 miles before it derailed. The derailment, as we all now know, sent dangerous chemicals into the air and forced thousands of people from their homes for days.
Now the question is, when did the crew know that there was a problem?
Flames under one of the cars.
Indications of.
So again, I don't think that the crew is actually to blame for this. And we're actually going to take a look at some other stuff that's going to highlight this a little bit more. But it's not. Let me put it to you very simply. The brakes on these trains were made during the Civil War. I'm just going to look up what year the Civil War ended. I don't like the look of that. 1865. Can we get a quick little math thing here? That's 158 years if we're being generous. Okay, let's just say 150. Let's just be nice. Would you get into anything that has brakes that are 150 years old? Like would you ride anything? I would not. No, I wouldn't. That'd be I'd be dead. That's what it would be. I'd be dead. That's dumb. Like, it's not the crew, it's not the people, it's not the like I saw that they were having they had a town hall with the people, and there's just some like middleman there, and I'm like, where are the CEOs? Where are the executives? Where are the people that like cause this, you know? It's not about the actual train itself. It's us. Like we created a system that values profit over people's lives, and that's where we are right now. And if I can just quickly pull this up, I want to see if I can find. Maybe it's on YouTube at this point. Should be. Train tracks in Ohio. Boom. Look at this. Like, let me put it this way. I come from a third world country. I don't even expect that our train tracks look like that. That's insane. Like it's ridiculous what I'm looking at, right? Can we speed this up? Can I see this coming? Oh boy, never mind. I don't want to speed it up. That's scary. Just looking at it in like normal speed is scary. So again, this is the problem. All right, so hold on. Yeah, I saw the bill to remove the Department of Education. That was dumb. Dumb. My mic is breaking up. All right, I can try something. Might not be great though. Hold on. Thanks for letting me know. I'm telling you, this is so scary. Like, he's taking it so slow because he has to, but in reality, he would have to go somewhere closer to, like, that, maybe? Oh my god, look at him. He's barely crawling. I can walk faster than that. I'm going to double. This is double the speed. It still looks like he's crawling. Anyways, I can't do this. This is insane. Ooh. Still breaking up. Ba-dum. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Yeah, I was about to do that. Oh no. Okay, this is something I usually don't do because it can pick up a lot of extra noise, but I think it'll be fun. Besides, this way you actually hear me doing all my breathing and stuff. But let me check. Whoa. Boom. Okay, seems fine to me. I think. Hard to tell. Okay, good enough. So, like I was saying, what were we talking about? Where were we at? I was right. So, Department of Education, Republicans are coming after it. Everyone's coming after everything. But what I wanted to highlight is Marjorie Taylor Greene wants what she calls a national divorce, which is essentially the separation of red and blue states. She wants us to just kind of like, I don't know, secede from perhaps some kind of union. Who's to say? You know, it's up for grabs, if you will. What's going on? Nani? God, I'm getting so much stuff. This is why I don't do this on Mondays. Come on. Track down our testing scores. Actually, you know what's actually really funny? You could actually see there's here it is. Here, can I find this? Can I just go to this? Might as well just go to the source. So Marjorie Taylor Greene's own personal whatever retweet, if you still have it, real down. I don't. We were releasing the January 6th tapes. Cool, do it. I think they were already released. We need a national divorce. Here it is. We need a national divorce. We need to separate the red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. Again, echo chambers. This is just what they do. From the sick and disgusting woke cultures shoved down our throats to the Democratic traitors, America's last policies, we are done. Wow. This is treasonous. Yep. Literally treason, just immediately. We saw you try that on January 6th, and you failed just like the traitor. Wow, oh my God, people are really coming at him. Right-wing politics, problems that will... Yep, again, I'm glad people would just call her out. Hold up, let him... God, people are amazing. I love this. Anyways, the point here is sometimes people don't actually realize this, but you can actually see that some red states... You can, all right, so there's a map where you can see, here, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. How much states contribute to federal government? So there was a map that basically showed the states most dependent on the federal government, 2022 edition. Fair. So what it shows is that on this map, you can see from least dependent to most dependent who is paying and who is basically living off of those payments. Like who's receiving more money from the federal government than they are giving back. So if you are on the lighter green side of this, like California over here, Minnesota, Wisconsin, you are doing fine. You're getting almost nothing from the federal government, and you're also putting it out. It's literally live on air here. Yeah, I'll check it out. If you're on the darker blue side of this, though, that means you're most dependent, which means those are basically states that are just cashing in checks all the time from the government and not paying anything back. West Virginia is apparently the most dependent state, followed by New Mexico, Mississippi, and Alabama. Wow. Oh, man. And look, I get it. Like, some of these people are just tired of seeing all this money go into the government and then not getting anything back from it. The problem here being that the people you're putting into government in basically all of these states are Republicans that then say that the federal government should not be here. And then they remove programs that would essentially be helping you in order to, I don't know, consolidate funding. It's a weird world we live in. All right, so let me take a look at that. I think this is what you were talking about. What is this? Oh yeah, to terminate the Department of Education? No. This was the other one. Hold on. This will be easier if I just open it up real quick. Oh yeah, no, this is the one you were talking about. Okay, so let's see. House education in the workforce. What do they just? Is this really what they just want? They just want to completely get rid of the committee, the department, the entire department. Like no wonder. Like it's no wonder that we'd basically be just dumb. We'd be losing everything. Chris's account, left wing. Tell me. All right. Okay. Fine. Norfolk Southern. Okay. We're going to move on. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to keep moving quick today. We are going to move on to infrastructure, specifically infrastructure. We're going to see, first off, we're going to take a look at this, because this is gross. So what got dumped in the water, wow. I'm going to tell you, because I studied some chemical engineering. I know a little bit about that stuff. Oh, here's the link. Sorry, my bad. All right, hold on. I'll take a quick look and then we'll jump into this. It's something called vinyl chloride, and we'll talk about it in a second.
And these people are sick, and yeah. I don't say that lightly. The NCAA is a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship, and then was allowed in incredibly disturbing detail to be around you and your fellow competitors. And again, I blame the decline of American men. This never should have been, someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s. But, as you have...
What does he mean by that?
Rates go down. That's and terrible. Men start acting like women and they don't do anything, then, hey, who's to say? You're going to... Look, there are a lot of sick people in the world, unfortunately, and without the strength to go against them, the country's going to completely... And these people are sick.
All right, so here's my opinion on all of this. These are the kinds of people that paint with black and white. I'm the kind of person that likes to use all the colors. That's all I'm saying. It takes all kinds, right? Like, there's no reason to just start drawing lines here, there, start putting people in this box, people in that box, and start, basically calling for violence against people. With white and what you mean? That's a good one. Listen, look, these people are just trying to find techniques that work. Specifically, scapegoating. They know scapegoating works. Scapegoating is just pick somebody, make people afraid of them, make people angry at them, point the finger at them, and then that way they don't look at all the shit you're doing. They don't examine it. They don't start taking a closer look. They can just push it off and say it's them. It's their problem. They're the ones doing this. It's them. Let's put it this way. People keep criticizing Biden on immigration, but at the same time, he's been doing a lot of diplomacy stuff in Southern American countries. That kind of stuff improves the lives of South Americans, and then less of them come through the border. It's not the most direct path to it. I know that people just want, like, big fences and maybe some kind of robot dogs and stuff to, like, track down and, I don't know, do terrible things to immigrants. But again, part of that is the anti-immigrant rhetoric. It's the same with the anti-trans rhetoric. They just need somebody to blame. If they can blame somebody, then they don't have to be blamed themselves. And when you start pointing fingers at them, they can go, yeah, but what about? And that's when you know that there's some deflection going on. That's when you know that there's a problem, because they're just going, but what about? Ba-da-da. What about? Da-da-da-da-da. And that's not an argument. That's just trying to steer you away from the point you're making. Anyways, like I said, we don't have a lot of time. I got to move fast. So we are going to go to the vinyl chloride. So vinyl chloride is what we call a MER, right? A MER would be a one chemical thingamabob. Oh boy, my son was just playing with these. It would have been so easy a second ago. All right, well, anyways, let's say you have a chain of magnets, right? So if you had one little magnet and then it attaches to another little magnet, you now have two MERs that have come together to make a polymer, more than one. If you get lots of them, you chain them together, that's when you really get what we would consider a polymer. And when you chain together lots of vinyl chloride, you get something called polyvinyl chloride, which you guys might recognize more easily as PVC. All right, it's the piping material. It's that like thick, heavy plastic that you can find at like Home Depot. It's used in a whole bunch of products. But that is what contaminated Ohio. That's what spilled. All right, it's that. For people that don't know, it's basically a chemical that will then mix into making these pipes, right? And if anybody knows anything about those PVC pipes, they are meant to last. They're not meant to degrade. They basically stay forever. One of the biggest concerns of our generation is going to be something called microplastics, which is essentially tiny, tiny plastic particles that end up in our... They're basically in all of our water at this point. The only water that isn't contaminated by it is probably the ice up in Antarctica. There might be a few other pockets, but honestly, like at this point, the water cycle has made sure that almost all of our water has some traces of microplastics in it. Right? But the point is that these things are known contaminants. Some of them are carcinogens. Most of them are carcinogens, let's be honest. But they're not good. They're very, very hazardous to your health. The EPA put out a statement saying that they had been, I think what the word they used was disseminated. Disseminated basically just means it's in everywhere. And they're saying that because it's leaked into everything, it's spread out enough that a little bit won't hurt. But just look at this. Like you can see it here.
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
And it's just gross. Like what are these people doing?
But they burned all the chemicals off of there, right?
That's what I
No,
heard.
no, 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 no. That's not how that works.
Video played on TV.
Look, burning the chemicals didn't just suddenly make it and gone. Burning is another chemical reaction. It's a way to combine chemicals differently. What they essentially did was put all this stuff into the air. Maybe not in exactly the way it was. Maybe some of it did break apart and recombine, but it wouldn't break apart and recombine into something that you want. It's still hazardous, no matter what.
Physical contamination.
Basically, East Palestine is a chemical disaster zone, and the cleanup is going to take years. It's not going to take months. It's going to take years, especially at the rate we're going.
In one of the local waterways, a section of Sulphur Run that is very near the crash site remains severely contaminated. We knew this. We know this. It's going to take a while to remediate this.
Notice how he said a while. A while.
Will be remediated, but it's certainly a place to be avoided at this point.
Yeah, of course it is to be avoided. All right, so again, we're going to try to keep moving fast. Wow, it's literally the same thing. Wait, I can see it bigger, though. I do want to see it bigger. Because I want you guys to see this. Look at... Wow. Just look at that.
Look at all that.
Literally, look at this. Look at this. This pocket is like humongous. The surface area on that is like bigger than a basketball, or bigger than one of those like big inflatable beach balls. Like that's nuts.
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
Like and so that stuff is all sinking into the ground. It's digging deeper. And you know what the sad part is? This is just standard. We're bringing attention to this, but this stuff happens way more often than you think. There's cleanup crews that are dedicated to cleaning this stuff up, and they just have no idea how to do it. So anyways, it comes down to
residents
a lot of certain things that would come together. I'm trying to let's not focus too much on the lawmakers and stuff because they're not doing jack. He's sorry.
While this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
This is what I'm talking about. There's 1,000 cases a year. And yes, this is an inadvertent side effect of the Trump administration. You're right. There were some policies that Obama put in place sometime near the end of his presidency, basically putting regulations on trains. Some of them being that they had to update the brakes, right? The brakes that, like I said earlier, were made in the, what was it, the 1860s? Like, they were made literally 150 years ago. And these brakes were not updated. And Obama put a law in place basically saying, hey, the brakes have to be at least from the 90s, which again is not great. It's been like 30 years. I don't know if the 90s is really, the brake system I want to use. Again, 30 years is a lot of years. You're supposed to replace the brakes on your car like every 5. So, what are we doing? But literally, these brakes, or at least the braking system, the method being used, was from the Civil War, right? And then they didn't update it. Why didn't they update it? Because technically everything was running legally. If we look into this more, part of the reason why the train strike happened was before this, they were given 3 minutes to inspect every car, and then they drove that down to 1 minute. So basically, the people inspecting the cars now have 1 minute instead of 3 minutes. They are down to a third of the time, or they get cut and they get fired and they get let loose. So they can't even inspect to make sure there's a problem. The brakes themselves don't get updated because that's an expense you don't need. The tracks don't get updated because, again, that's an expense you don't need. And technically, that's not my problem. I just have them go as fast as they can on the most dangerous path that they can, right? Like, that just makes a lot of sense to me, doesn't it? Why care about, having to clean up and spend a couple, thousands of dollars, maybe a couple million trying to clean up when I can just, rush my product out every time? Like, it's only going to crash, 1,000 times a year? It's a terrible policy. It's disgusting. And this is why government needs to regulate stuff. Do what Japan did, spend billions on a new rail system, cut some of the excess of military. Yeah, and again, Japan made a choice. Japan made a choice to basically leave themselves open to everything. And they're counting on us to defend them. And the reason why the U.S. is just not going to cut its military spending is because that is its main export. Right? Like, that would be like the Middle East cutting off its oil exports. They'd be like, yeah, no, sorry guys, we want to be climate conscious. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it because that's literally their entire income. They'd be essentially shooting themselves in the foot and then trying to run a marathon. And yeah, Japan has an incredibly efficient rail system. They also had the good fortune of basically getting to start on some pretty flat land. Actually, I think I had a video up. I might have gotten rid of it. But we'll get back to it. It's about how the Chinese and the U.S. infrastructure is so different, and part of it is because of stuff like that. It's not Japan exactly, but
subject to certain enhanced requirements because of the hazardous materials on board. But obviously, none of that prevented what happened in East Palestine.
Also, the enhanced requirements he's talking about actually were being circumvented because they said that these were not, like, the materials weren't in the state they needed to be considered as hazardous.
One of the reasons we're going to be paying very close attention to the findings that NTSB comes back with. EPA has already sent a letter notifying, in a formal way, notifying Norfolk Southern of its responsibilities. Obviously, I can't get ahead of an investigation that is active and ongoing, but Norfolk Southern will have to answer to EPA for the environmental side and to our department if there were any violations of rules that were found.
By the way, I don't think that's me having audio problems. I think that was him. He had some kind of weird video problems on his end. All right, so again, Mayor Pete said it right there. There's thousands of these cases a year, which is not great. Wait, hold on.
Horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of
attention. Is it thousands or 1,000?
There are roughly 1,000.
All right, 1,000. Not as bad, but still, 1,000 cases a year is terrible. Terrible. Yeah, Yahoo always seems to surprise me. They always come back a little bit. So hold on, if I can find East Palestine residents reported. Nope. We're gonna move on a little bit. I don't have the time. So, let's see if this or this. Let's start here.
21, a stretch of California's scenic Pacific Coast Highway collapsed, with a chunk of it falling into the ocean. Texans lost heat, electricity, and clean water for weeks, and the new Harmony Toll Bridge linking Illinois and Indiana remains closed due to structural concerns for 9 years and counting. Today, the U.S. ranks 13th globally in infrastructure quality, behind countries like France, Germany, Spain, and the UAE. But we were once a...
There's Japan. We were just talking about that. Japan's up here with Hong Kong, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Singapore.
Leader.
Nice.
Here's why the U.S. has been falling off the tracks. When you hear the...
By the way, Singapore actually has a huge safety record, mostly because, at least when it comes to theft. And part of the reason why is because they have cameras literally everywhere, and the crime for stealing is like the punishment for stealing is insane. It's so
the
huge.
word infrastructure, you probably think of roads, bridges, and tunnels, but infrastructure also includes things like high-speed internet, school buildings, drinking water, and airports. One reason...
And train tracks. My God, this is a year old, so they didn't know, but still. But yeah, this is all basically broken in the United States. Our roads are disgusting. There's a great channel called Not Just Bikes, and he goes into exactly why. Or there's also Strong Towns. Strong Towns is also pretty good, but Not Just Bikes goes into this in like really great videos, basically showing how the roads are designed to keep as many people in as much danger as possible for as long as possible. Essentially, like they're disgusting. And on top of that, we waste so much space on like parking lots and stupid stuff like that. Our bridges, again, falling apart. Literally, some of them are collapsing. Tunnels, not doing well. High-speed internet is a joke. Literally, we pay some of the highest prices for some of the worst service. School buildings, everybody gets shot. Drinking water, contaminated. We see it. And then airports. I mean, it could be better, you know?
For the US's low
Keep going back
ratings,
to Japan, but their
US
road
doesn't
system.
spend much relative to other nations.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
China's...
But again, Japan doesn't have to worry about their road system as much because they are focused on a pedestrian society, you know? And Japan has its own problems too. Let's not, over glorify everybody, because Japan has a huge rate of suicide. And part of that is due to their work-life culture, where essentially for a long time it was culturally appropriate to stay at work until your boss left. And your boss basically stayed there until the sun went down and the stars came up, like late. And then if you're, there, sometimes it's like customary to go out to dinner with your coworkers, and it's not always like a fun dinner. It's like hey, everybody has to mingle and talk and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's a lot of stress going on there. And it's a real honor-based society, which kind of made it harder too. Anyways, let's see what's going on.
Spends about 8% of its GDP on building and maintaining infrastructure. European countries spend about 5%, but the US spends just over 2%, and it's been spending less and less over the years. The US population has also almost doubled since the 1960s, when much of the country's major infrastructure systems were designed.
So we're literally putting twice as much strain on it 60 years later, and then just expecting it to hold? Oh, that's not great.
Much of that infrastructure is reaching the end of its lifespan. While America's airports carry the most passengers of any country in the world,
which again, we didn't need to. We could have invested this into trains, and it would have been so much better for the environment and our pockets. Because trains don't use as much as this. Like they really don't. Like, all these planes are burning through gasoline. Like, just burning through it. And then a train could basically be all electric.
20% of all arrivals and departures were
which would still burn fossil fuels, by the way. I feel like people misunderstand that. When I say electric, it just means that it's on the grid, and we need to change the grid to more renewable sources, but it's still going to burn fossil fuels.
delayed in 2019. That's thanks in part to a higher growth rate in passengers than in flights, and an insufficient number of terminals, gates, and ramps that were available to meet.
Yeah, on top of that, Pete said he was going to come after this because he was saying that there's a lot of people that book flights on, and then the flight gets canceled or it's overbooked and they get pushed back, and that's just bullshit.
The growing demand. Not one U.S. airport made the top 30 list of the world's best airports in 2020. While freight rail fares pretty well, thanks to funding from shipping fees, passenger rail is funded by the federal government, which hasn't been giving it much support. U.S. passenger trains face numerous repair backlogs and delays, and they average about half the speed of Europe's high-speed rails. Almost half.
Yeah, I also get really pissed off because some people say, like, you know, well, it's because the United States has, like, a weird terrain, and it's hard for them to, you know, like, update it. And they have high-speed rails literally all over the place. They have them in Europe, they have them in China, they have them in Japan. Singapore has them, Korea has them. Like, it's not the terrain, all right? It's like you're just not making the investment. And look at this. They're saying repair backlogs. That's literally what happened in this case. Like, nobody was able to check this because they were rushing through it. They were saying you have 1 minute to check each car and you're out of here. Like, if you can't do it, you're out of here. So they were firing people left and right.
Rails. Almost half of U.S. schools reported issues with heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And 65% of counties across the country have subpar internet connection. 40% of roads are considered to be in poor and mediocre condition, and an increase in severe weather events is beginning to damage key roadways.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You could, there's a way to make, like, let me put it this way. There are people that fly within the same state. That's already absurd to me. And I know that some states are huge, like California, like from the southernmost point of California to the topmost point of California, you could be driving for like 12 hours, right? But actually, I don't even know if that's enough time to make it there. But the point is, like, that could take you days. But if we had a like high-speed rail system, it would literally be able to get you there in a few hours. Yeah, exactly. Like, why would you drive that when it's cheaper to get a flight? And then we wouldn't be so dependent on these flights if it was even cheaper to take the train. Oops. This thing started saying that I need to charge. So we're going to plug this in real quick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. All right.
Funding for more environmentally resilient materials. Our drinking water comes from 2.2 million miles of underground pipes, most of which are aging. Many were laid after World War II and have an average lifespan of 75 to 100 years, meaning many are reaching the end of their life. Economists generally see infrastructure spending as having a significant multiplier effect.
But yeah, on top of that, that is literally getting leaked into. High-speed rail, we can't have that. Yeah, I know, that's the problem. Like, why would we invest in something that makes sense and would possibly benefit the majority of our population? I can't see any benefit to that. And the problem is also we have lobbyists that basically their entire job is to go there and be like, hey, why would you make my life harder by, you know, giving me competition? Like, that's dumb.
Effect. For example, less time stuck in traffic can mean more productivity at work, which means more money generated.
Yeah, and like, see, like this is the part that bothers me so much. This is why we were talking about like the police and everything with how they could basically just mail you a ticket after seeing your license plate doing some stupid stuff instead of doing traffic stops. It's safer for the police. It's safer for the people. Like, most of these random killings basically happen in traffic stops. Most police, like, you know, death actually happens at traffic stops and domestic abuse calls. But basically, you could avoid one of the most dangerous parts of a cop's day and also stop people from getting shot over, I don't know, not having the correct light in their car or driving through a red light or whatever. Like, dumb. And so this is one of those easy fixes. Like, invest in the infrastructure, the money comes back, right? Yeah, it's because it can't be privatized, because highways are a federal thing because they cross into several state lines. trains, federal things. They cross several state lines. And even if you do privatize it, they still need like major subsidies to even just function.
Quality school.
And they have to be regulated like crazy.
Buildings.
And that's the thing that Republicans hate the most. Regulation. Ugh. That word. Ugh. But at the same time, I want to be able to go to a store, buy some meat, and be sure that it's not going to kill me and get me sick. Do you know who I thank for that? The USDA. They put people in literally every meat processing plant, and your meat is not allowed in the store if it doesn't have that little rubber stamp saying somebody checked it out who basically knows what meat looks like when it's bad. Like, easy stuff like that. And like, it's not really easy. It's a huge complex network, but like, it seems like a simple idea. Just make sure that everything is functioning properly for everyone.
More students learn better, graduate, go to college, get good paying jobs, and spend more money.
Yeah, and this is another thing. The schools, like, how are kids supposed to focus in schools with, all right, in the simple ways, like, what about like drafty, like drafty buildings, stuff like that, but like in a more complicated way, they are afraid of getting shot. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't learn well when I'm worried about whether my classmate has a gun or not, or whether my superintendent is going to leave a gun in the bathroom. Idiots. Just idiots. Let's finish up this video, and then I gotta take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
Relying more on local and state spending. Only 25% of U.S. public infrastructure funding comes from the federal government, down from a high of 38% in 1977. This means often cash-strapped local governments bear the costs of the investment and maintenance, and it creates
Speaking of that, I was part of a program with a local government, actually, where they were trying to get internet to every student during the COVID pandemic. They basically said that no student should be deprived of internet while they are trying to learn. Like everybody deserves to go to school, and you shouldn't be denied that because your family can't afford internet or can't afford a laptop or whatever. So we were helping out these families that basically were like, no, the internet plans are too expensive. And we were like, hey, it's paid for. Like, the government's going to pay for it. You're going to get your internet. Don't worry. That money came from, and I'm not going to say who, but a very, very wealthy individual. Not the government. The government didn't pass anything to help with that. This was 2019, I think. 2020? I don't know. It was, I think, November of the first year of the pandemic. And when I was working with them, I was like, oh, this is really wonderful. All the money for the program came from a very wealthy individual who was basically privately funding this through his charity. Not the federal government. The federal government just could not organize itself in time to really properly meet that demand. And those kids were able to go to school because of this wealthy individual's charity.
Inequalities in infrastructure across cities.
Oh, that was the ending. All right, yeah, but that's one of the things. Like, our infrastructure is broken. It's in like an incredible state of disrepair. We literally have a C- as an infrastructure score. Like, they've been grading us, and it's literally C-. Right, I live there, laying in fiber optic. My God. Like you gotta just think about this stuff. Like, what's going on? And like, let's put it this way. Storms come all the time and tear out the entire eastern seaboard. Like, I cannot tell you how many years that like a hurricane has just come and taken out my power. Like, every year. And all I keep thinking is, you know what they did in New York City? They took all those wires, buried them underground. You know what they don't deal with? All those telephone poles falling all over the place. Power wires dangling, shocking anybody that drives nearby. Like, stupid, simple stuff, right? And then, I can't convince anybody in my town to do it because they're all like, oh, that's going to cost too much money. And yeah, but how much are we paying every year to fix the problems that not doing that is causing? right? Like you pay one big bill and then you don't have to pay every year to fix the problems that are being caused by not taking this fix. Anyways, I'm going to be right back. I'm at 0. Hello, back. All right. So real quick, I wanted to show you guys what I was talking about. So the stuff they spilled in Ohio is polyvinyl chloride, or it's vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride would be this. When you put it all together, it would be something like this. That is what I was talking about with the trains, right? The chemicals they dropped are basically heavy-duty plastics. We already have a microplastic problem in the water. They're just making it worse. I am not going to keep focusing on this because, like I said, I don't have a lot of time and I want to do a quick Ukraine update before I have to go. So, quick Ukraine update. Biden is in Ukraine. We can check this out. We're going to look at it from Fox News, who, by the way, that was also the big news. Fox News got called out in the Dominion lawsuit, and it is not going well. It is not going well. Because apparently, they just got hit with some really incredible news, basically being told that he's going to Ukraine. Right, yeah, let's start there. Thank you.
Right now, President Biden is on the ground in Ukraine for a surprise visit as we approach 1 year.
So let's remember, again, not trying to harp on these guys, but they are being sued for billions of dollars for lying and knowingly lying, right?
Russia's invasion, the president was expected to leave the U.S. for Poland tonight and deliver an address in Warsaw tomorrow. The administration originally saying there were no plans for Biden to visit Ukraine. This visit coming after a slew of world leaders, including UK's
Fox News is muted.
There, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited. Even First Lady Jill Biden visited last May for Mother's Day in Western Ukraine. This is President Biden in Kyiv. We want to go now right to Peter Doocy in Poland if we have him. Hey, Peter, what can you tell us?
just in the last 1 minute, this visit to Ukraine that is a surprise and that was unannounced became reportable. We're getting some photos for the first time that we can have ingested, but as recently as Friday, we were told there were no plans for the president to visit Ukraine. As recently as...
All right. I didn't realize they were going to spend so much time talking about him not visiting. All right. Here we go.
President Biden met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during this unannounced trip. It comes just days before the one-year mark of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine.
Here's the thing. I don't find a problem with there being an opposition news network. You know, someone to talk against the mainstream, say something different from what everyone else is saying. They just need to say the truth, though. It's not like this is not a hard concept. You know, like I don't understand why they're struggling so much. Like news is basically just you know what the news is to me? And this is actually where most news networks actually get their news. The Associated Press. But really, the news is just this is what happened. Biden declares Kyiv stands in surprise visit to Ukraine, which is essentially nobody knew that he was going to be there. He showed up and he said Kyiv stands, which is nice. But yeah, they snuck a president from DC to Kiev without anyone noticing. Impressive. Really impressive. Putin's Ukraine gamble seen as biggest threat to his rule. Yep, people are starting to say that he's unhinged. But again, what can you do? But yeah, Associated Press is probably one of the better, more center, like non-biased news source. Basically, I think being a news reporter isn't that hard, right? News reporters basically just have to sit there and tell you, hey, this is what happened. They're literally pulling videos from like Twitter and stuff sometimes. Like, just tell me, this is what happened. Also, I realized just now that you guys can't actually see what I was talking about. But Fox News spent a whole bunch of time basically just talking about how nobody knew he was going to be there. And again, I get that. That's fine. But he's there. Cool. Now tell me what happened. Same thing here. Since it's President's Day, we're going to talk about the presidents a little bit. You know, we're going to do this. But again, I don't have a lot of time today. So we're just going to keep it going. Surprised no one in Putin's inner circle has put a bullet or two in his skull already. If it was that easy, someone would have done it already. It's hard. It's going to take a lot of planning. It's going to take a lot of time. Anyways, let's not spend too much time here. And by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she wants to impeach Biden for supporting Ukraine. McConnell over here, former obstructionist in chief, still obstructionist in chief? I don't know. There's no way we're watching him at 1x speed. We are literally going to be here all day if we do that.
For a strong bipartisan National Defense Authorization Act, as well as robust funding for our armed forces. Defending our homeland, deterring future threats, and supporting our allies and partners should not be last-minute, low priorities. They're fundamental duties if we want to remain the strongest power in the world, and investing in strength today protects our country, our service members, and the American taxpayer tomorrow.
Boom. This is a man who understands his business. This is a man who knows that our business as Americans is exporting our military. Our business is to literally be the world's army. We are the world's police force, and if that is not our business, there goes our income. Like, he knows that that's what we do. That's what we do for a living. Oh my gosh. This thing keeps falling out, and I'm just worried the battery's going to run out. All right. Anyways, the point is, this guy knows that what we sell is the military. We sell our armed forces, and if one of our allies, who is essentially one of our clients, is not being protected by our military, it really cheapens the brand, right? Why would you pay for our military services when you know that they're not going to show up when you need them? So he knows what's at stake here. He knows that if we don't show up and we don't defend Ukraine, suddenly there's going to be a lot of people worried about whether we're going to show up when they get attacked. Taiwan, Japan, or South Korea. Like, there's lots of places that are depending on us. And if we don't show up, then suddenly everyone's going to start questioning, like, why am I paying for there to be a military base here that's occupied by a foreign country? why do I keep calling America for favors and hoping that they'll help me in my time of need when they're not going to show up? And this was the problem with Trump too. He basically backed us out of every international agreement we made and cheapened the brand.
Let's take, for example, Ukraine. For nearly a year now, the free people of the sovereign nation have stood firm and battled against brutal and lawless aggression. The Ukrainians' brave stand is made possible in part because the United States and a number of other countries have realized that supporting their self-defense directly serves our own interests. Europe, together, constitutes America's largest trading partner. Instability in Europe poses a direct threat to countless American producers who sell to our friends across the Atlantic. Further huge disruptions to European markets would only add to the inflationary challenges.
I love how he actually starts making more sense when you speed him up to 1.75. Like before that, he's just so slow that I really can't make sense of him. But now, yeah, now I get it.
That Democrat spending has caused us already here at home.
All right, okay, I spoke too soon.
Or a successful Russian invasion would embolden the entire club of anti-American thugs.
Especially Kentucky. Kentucky's one of those states. It's getting way, way more money than it's giving back.
Regimes take bolder and more brazen steps toward further conflict, including direct threats to American lives. Every day, Russia spins on the back foot in Ukraine, degrades its own ability to wage further wars, and dramatically changes the cost-benefit calculus for others who might contemplate similar violence. Continuing support for Ukraine is the popular mainstream view that stretches across the ideological spectrum. On my side of the aisle, for example, the former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, said recently that supporting Ukraine fully and completely is in the best interest of the United States.
Yeah.
Foreign policy expert at the Heritage Foundation, James Garofano, has spoken out forcefully about the need for continued military assistance. So has former Secretary of State Pompeo, former Vice President Pence, and virtually every other leading national security official from the previous administration. Now, while the conflict has exposed serious weaknesses in Russia's ability to wage conventional war, it has also exposed shortcomings in the West, particularly with our defense industrial bases. Our European friends who treated themselves to holidays from history after the Cold War, who presumed a new normal of stability and security and shifted spending disproportionately into domestic programs, have received a harsh wake-up call. They're rushing to reinvest.
So he's just saying, hey guys, Europe decided that they were going to pay for, their citizens to be like healthy, and now they can't defend themselves against Russia. Like, my God, man, your people literally live in poverty. Like, somebody went to, it wasn't Kentucky, was it? It was Alabama. Ah, man. All right, well, look, somebody from the UN went to some of these red states. And let's be real, Alabama and Kentucky are not all that different. But they went to some of these red states. They declared the poverty there to be literally akin to a third world nation. All right, so let's not start praising ourselves for preparing for a war that, nobody really ever wanted to have. Right? Like, we're sitting in one of the worst of times, and you're sitting there gloating about how you called it because you were, spending on the military instead of on your people? Like, come on, man.
Invest more in their own defenses. Some politicians here in America fell victim to the same lullaby. Now, fortunately, supplying the specific kinds of American armaments that Ukraine needs
is so hard to watch.
Other important regions, such as the Pacific. China and its neighbors are watching the conflict in Ukraine closely, and the CCP would be delighted if Ukraine fell to Russia.
And again, this is what I keep saying. If you are looking at these places and thinking about the worst case scenario, you're thinking about how to make enemies, how to whatever, yeah, you're going to prepare for the worst case scenario. You're going to put armies there, you're going to put military there, you're going to do what you're going to do. But at the same time, when you choose to neglect the spending on your own people in favor of basically just amping up a military, like, you're going to see suffering that is going to basically outweigh the benefits here, right? Like, how many times are we going to do this? How many times are we going to keep going back to war, right? And then claiming that there was just no other way. And look, I get it. Russia invaded. It wasn't us, like, it was them, and blah, 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 blah. And we'll always find an excuse. But the people here are suffering. And you have purposefully put a stop to that at every turn, right? Like, it has been basically Mitch McConnell's mission to cut any kind of social spending. Like, that's his thing. His thing is to essentially eliminate social spending at any point and to obstruct as much as he can. But it comes back to what I was saying earlier with the anti-immigrant rhetoric, the anti-trans rhetoric. It's about finding a scapegoat. It's about finding an enemy. And then you can say that that's the bad guy and we got to get them. So it's not the wealthy, you know, it's not your basically oligarch whatever. I don't want to get into all this. This is going to get really complicated and very long. But the point is, the problem isn't with your boss who is hoarding all the wealth and basically paying you pennies on the dime. The problem is with the Chinese manufacturing all this technology that's going to put you out of a job. No, it's not. I was watching this guy saying, here, we're not gonna keep watching this guy, but I get what his point is. Capitalism versus tech. Yeah. That's not quite what I wanted, but somebody put this out there. I don't know if it's not something we're gonna watch right now, but essentially, I was gonna see if there was a short video on this. I was watching this earlier. Somebody was talking about capitalism versus tech, and what they essentially said was that the technology isn't killing your job, right? In capitalism, if you get a machine and the machine can make it so that the worker has to do 50% less work, you fire 50% of your workforce, right? Because now you need half the amount of staff to produce the same amount of product. If that same company was owned by like a bunch of coworkers, what would happen is you would cut the amount of hours that everybody has to work by half after acquiring the tech. Like, see, there's the difference. People would get more time at home, but still produce the same amount that they were doing before. And that's part of the problem with work from home, is that everyone that started working from home was still producing the same amount of quality work, but suddenly they didn't have to commute. So they were getting a lot of hours in. Suddenly they didn't have to dress up, so some people just rolled right out of bed in their pajamas. Suddenly they didn't have to make a planned stop at a Dunkin' Donuts / Starbucks to get their morning coffee. They just set up the coffee machine at home. And all this stuff adds up over and over and over again. And then they were sitting there thinking, what do we do about that? And see, in capitalism, that's a problem. And in, I guess, socialism, it's not. In socialism, that's the point. The point is, the point of advancing ourselves is that the tech should belong to everybody. We should all benefit from it, not just the people making a profit, right? So if you come to your boss and you say, hey, I found a way to do my job in half the amount of time, is your boss going to let you go half a day early? No. They're going to force you to do twice the amount of work. And that's the problem. We live in a society that emphasizes the profit over the person, right? And yeah, the office buildings are a mess right now because of stuff like that. So we're not gonna get too much into this. The point is, Biden made his surprise visit to Kiev. He's
that is so important signal for us, and all we are proud of it. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. President.
It's good to be back in Kyiv. I was telling the president, one of my newer staff members on the flight from...
Okay, look, I again, Democrats are fine and everything. Just please, I need somebody more interesting, guys. I can't. Like, whew. Okay, I got this. We're gonna speed him up a little bit. Let's go, Joe.
And Paul asked me how many times I've been to Kyiv. And I had to stop and think it's my 8th trip.
This is 8th trip, thanks.
Much of it bad with the invasion, but also Ukrainian people have stepped up in a way that few people ever have in our defense. And apparently now also embrace the notion of democracy.
Everybody's too old to be in there. Trump is too old. Biden's too old. Bernie's too old. I love Bernie too. Bernie's got some great ideas, but he's still too old. You know, like, it's sad. I mean, at least he's not as old as Jimmy Carter, but again, Jimmy already came and went. He already did what he had to do. Should not worry about provoking Putin. Oh, hey, look at this.
Joining us now is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, also in Munich. Good morning.
Really?
Senator, you heard what Secretary Blinken said about the war, and particularly those weapons. I know you want to get over there. Your reaction?
Well, number one, there are 30 United States senators in Munich, along with a big House delegation. Senator McConnell and Schumer both came. virtually unanimous belief that we should be training Ukrainian pilots on the F-16 today so they can get the jets as soon as possible. The British are training.
Again, a man who knows his business. We deal in exporting murder. That's what we do. That's our business. If you are American, you should be proud of that because that is your business. This is what we do. This is like literally, that's your number one export. All right? Guns, planes, tanks, soldiers. That's what we do. That's us. All right? So, you know, like, he knows what he's doing. He's sitting there like, we need to train him. We need to do it. We need to whatever. By the way, he's also getting investigated for his time in Georgia. I think the special jury actually ended up recommending perjury charges. I don't know specifically for him, but in general, they were looking at some pretty heavy charges around.
Ukrainian pilots, I believe a decision would be imminent here when we get back to Washington that the administration will start training Ukrainian pilots on the F-16. They need the weapon system. And let me just stress this. How can you call this war by Russia a crime against humanity? And that's what the vice president did in Munich. Now, we're talking about Germany. We're talking about the vice president of the United States declaring that Russia is involved in crimes against humanity in Germany, of all places, you know, echoes of World War II. How can you say that? And she is correct. And not give the victim of the crime against humanity the defensive weapons they need to stop the crime. So we need to do two things quickly.
Yo, what is going on with the Republican Party right now? Because I love how he's sitting here like, we need to get them weapons. They need weapons now. Again, a man who knows his brand. He knows what he's doing. And then on the other side, you've got, again, I'm sorry this is so jumpy, but I don't have a lot of time, so we got to keep this going. On the other side, we've got this girl talking about impeaching Biden for Ukraine. Hold on. All we're hearing on the news is Ukraine. I can't find it. All right, but she did. She just put out on Twitter that she wants to do this. Hold on. I hate going back to her Twitter, but here we go. Oh, see, look, here it is. This is incredibly insulting. Today on our President's Day, Joe Biden chose Ukraine over America. What? Why? Why do you gotta be dumb like this? Why? Like, I cannot express how Americans hate Joe Biden. Americans don't hate President Biden. You do. You're a vile human being. I nominate this post as the dumbest of the day. I'm glad the comments at least know what's up, you know? Like, oh my God. But this is just dumb. You want to know the difference between Biden and Trump? Biden is in Ukraine and Trump is in Ohio. Is Trump in Ohio? Is that where he is today? Can I type in where's Trump today? But Trump caused the problem in Ohio. We literally talked about that earlier in this. He repealed he repealed regulation that would have made it so that they update their brakes from being in the 1860s to the 1990s. I almost said the 1890s. Like literally, this train was running on brakes from the Civil War, and then it didn't get upgraded to the 90s. How much money is the government giving to Ohio to help them get over this crazy chemical spill? Again, we're... No, it did not. No, it did not. The regulation came in 2017. After lobbyists came. So, again, we're done. But, is he? Can I find that? Is Trump in Ohio then? Okay, it said he is going to visit. Did he? Can I find this? It says he's going to. I don't. Is he there? Can I find something? Yes, yes, I agree. Biden also just struck down the railroad safety measures, all that stuff. Yep, we saw that. I know, I didn't say Biden was blameless. We talked about that one too. So look at this. Before Ohio derailment, Norfolk Southern lobbied against safety rules And did I really get, I hate it when that happens. Yeah, here we go. Easy, easy, easy. Trump administration is to blame, so is Biden. They're both done. No. You can't just blame Biden because he's the latest one to jump on the bandwagon. Literally, the brakes would have been there from the 90s. Like the brake system they had literally is from the Civil War era. That's a 150-year-old brake system. And then they would have been upgraded to the 90s, and then Trump decided that was too much of a burden to put on the train companies, so he got rid of that in 2018. And this was passed by Congress in 2015 too, which would have meant that it's still Republicans passing this. So we're still running back into the same problems here. ECP had been in development in 1993. Blah, 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 blah. Look, Leviticus, I'm really sorry about this because this is actually a really good conversation that we should have. But I am actually out of time. All right? I can kind of get into this for a little bit, but I am out of time. I was going to get into the Dominion trial, but again, I'm out of time. This was a super, super short stream today because I just kind of wanted to make up for the fact that on Friday I was literally puking and stuck on the toilet for like the whole day. Yeah, Biden now could have Trump done something, sure. Yeah, but again, see, this is one of those things. Like, we keep passing it off, and then suddenly it's this person's fault because he's the latest one. Like, you know, these are systems that have been in place for years, and they just keep buckling under the same pressure. Like, you said that thing happened in 2015. I just looked into it. Congress passed that. That's a Republican thing. Congress was Republican in 2015. Like, literally both houses. Then we could talk about how it got rolled back. Again, Trump rolled it back. Then we could talk about those train strikes. Biden did that. Biden actually messed that one up real bad. I remember that. I said he was a genius because he did it right after the midterm election. So again, it's one of the things that people are going to forget. But at the same time, like, it caused a disaster. But again, thousands of these happen every year. And it's because we have a basically crumbling infrastructure. And denied the safety standards, that's on him. Yes. But that doesn't make it entirely his fault. Like, yes, this is Biden's fault. It is also Trump's fault. It's also Congress's fault. Like, we keep giving in to lobbyists that basically just come in and tell you, hey, it's too much of a burden for me to put modern brakes on trains. So I'm going to keep the ones that are 150 years old. And we said, okay, yeah, sounds right. Sounds cool. I like that. And that sounded right to Congress. That sounded right to Trump. That sounded right to Biden. Although I guess Biden basically just wanted the trains running before Christmas. And again, he ignored a whole bunch of shit to get that to go. And this is the price we pay. I was watching a thing with one of the workers, and they were talking about how this is basically precisely what they were talking about. But more than that, there's some kind of thing called it's like a precision employment. Like, basically they have a precision scaled system, something like that. I don't think that's the exact term for it, but the point is that the railroad workers have to work in a certain amount of time, and they have to complete these things on the schedule precisely minute by minute, or else everything gets messed up essentially. And one of the things that meant is that they had to inspect these cars in 60 seconds as opposed to 3 minutes. And that caused basically everybody to just kind of yeah, everything looks fine, instead of actually carefully examining everything. And they wanted more than 3 minutes too. But again, companies want their profit. And so paying somebody to stand there for a third of the time that they used to is much better than 3 times as long or twice as long or whatever it is that they wanted to really make sure that things are safe. Same like how they could say, hey, while the brakes that are old still work, you know, why not keep using them? Even though we were looking at videos earlier on here that said that the brakes were basically going for 20 miles, sparks shooting out everywhere, and that train was still going. So do I think anything's going to change? I would love to see it change, but no, I don't think so. No. And that's the sad part. That honestly, this is just going to end up like another Flint, Michigan kind of thing, where we're going to say that the infrastructure is crumbling, the water's contaminated, and then we're going to look back at it in a few years and say, did it change? Are they okay? And then we're going to find out that there's some kid over there that's got like weird skin conditions because of all the times that he went swimming in the river, and now suddenly he's got like plastic skin, right? 100 billion would do to the railroad companies. I mean, look, we put in, what was it, a $2 trillion infrastructure package? This is where it should have gone. We were talking about this earlier too. If we had a robust train system, then maybe we would, I don't know, not need planes. Like, it's that simple. Like I was talking about it, like how in California, you might literally fly from one part of California to another because it's easier than driving. It might even be cheaper than driving, right? But that's what I'm saying, $2 trillion. We were looking at a little bit at that, but I will talk about this more on Friday because, guys, unfortunately, like I've been saying, I don't have as much time on this. I am going to come back, though. I'm going to come back actually on Wednesday before I come back on Friday because I want to come back on Wednesday and do some self-care talk because I think it's really important, guys, because a lot of us are going to work. We're doing a lot of whole stuff that, you know, society tells us is going to make us happy. It's going to make us whole. It's going to make us better. But then you don't actually put any of that to use. You know, like I feel like a lot of people go to work, do what work tells them to do, then they get home and they have a couple hours maybe to just kind of do whatever they can to feel semi-human, and then it's to sleep and then back to work. So I want to see if I can help you guys figure out what to do with that time, help you figure out how to take care of yourself so that when you actually get that free time, you know what to do with it so that it helps. All right, because I've been seeing a lot of posts online. A lot of people are in some bad places, and I want to help. So I will see you guys on Wednesday. I'm sorry I have to cut it short today, but again, Mondays, holidays, parent stuff. Sorry. But I will be back. I'll be back on Wednesday, and then I will be back on Friday to actually talk about all the politics stuff. I want to talk about this train stuff some more. It's not going away, and it's more important than we're talking about. I did not advertise that. That's Leviticus only. So I will talk to you guys next time, but thanks for tuning in.